We had some bad days, bro. Maybe that's all they were. Just bad days. We had some good days, too.
Scott here with you with Something Spoiled, here to talk about the new film, Thank You for Your Service. This film marks the directorial debut of Jason Hall. You might recognize his name. He actually worked on the screenplay for American Sniper. This film also deals with soldiers. The main character is Adam Schumann, and he is returning home just fresh from combat with his fellow soldiers, Solo Ayeti and Will Waller. The film opens up with one event in which a fellow soldier, is sniped and shot in the head. His name is Emery, Michael Emery. And at the end of that scene, he appears to have died. After he's shot in the head, Schumann tries to carry him to safety away from the combat area and drops him on his head. And at that point, he appears to be dead. Right after that point, we see our three heroes are being transported home. They're all looking forward to getting back to their civilian lives. Waller is planning on getting married, and he can talk about nothing else except his fiancée. And Schumann is looking forward to getting back to his family, his wife and 3 kids. And Solo Ayeti is also looking forward to getting back home to his pregnant wife. But once they get home, that's where things kind of take a left turn. The movie really does a lot of heavy lifting in terms of trying to show us the lives of these soldiers after they return home, and the complications that result from PTSD. In the case of these soldiers, their PTSD seems to stem around a few key elements, the first of which is depicted in that opening scene in which Michael Emery is sniped. And then there's a sequence of events that stem from that event that also play into the stress disorder that these gentlemen are dealing with. But the performances for the film, I'd say, are good. But at some points they're a little uneven. Miles Teller leads the cast as Adam Schumann, and I got to give Teller a lot of credit for making choices that weren't necessarily the obvious choices. You'd think going into playing a character with PTSD, the obvious choices would be to play up the aspect of being damaged, play the brooding, I'm not going to talk about it. And he doesn't do that. He tries to stay true to the character of Schumann. And you can see in Teller's performance when he first comes home that he's not willing to already to even deal with that particular aspect of what happened over in combat. And even when he's asked about it, he just denies even knowing anything about it. And then as the story progresses, you can see that he becomes more and more aware that he does have a problem. And certainly by the end of the film, he knows that he has something that he has to deal with. Solo Ayeti, played by Beulah Cole, has a bit more to deal with, as he's come back with actually some short-term memory issues. And that unfortunately makes him unemployable. And he has a wife who is pregnant with their first child on the way. He doesn't really have a whole lot of options, and unfortunately he ends up turning to crime. Will Waller, he probably gets the worst deal because he comes home looking forward to marrying that fiancée, and she empties the house on him, leaving only his uniform hanging in a corner. He figures that his only option is to track her down at her place of employment and commit suicide right in front of her. Some other performances that I do want to call attention to, which do really work. Scott Hayes plays Michael Emery, and there's a really nice scene where Schumann rejoins with Emery, whom we find out is very much alive, but of course living in a bit of a diminished capacity because the bullet took out part of his skull and brain. But we do find out that Schumann is carrying around a lot of guilt because he does drop Emery on his head, and he feels that he is responsible for Emery's diminished capacity, where Emery points out that how ridiculous that is because the bullet did take out part of his head. And he points out that he's also grateful to be alive. Hayes steals those scenes. He makes Emery extremely likable and a fun guy to be around. And it makes you wonder what Emery was like in real life. Top marks go to Haley Bennett, who plays Schumann's wife, Saskia. She is a strong woman who is fighting to keep her family together. and who's fighting to convince her husband that he needs help. And Bennett feels every ounce of strength that Saskia has on screen. While it probably won't be nominated, I would say the caliber of her performance is certainly Oscar worthy. Overall, I would say that Thank You for Your Service deserves an A for effort in trying to shed an honest light on a very real problem of soldiers returning back from war into civilian life. It doesn't execute on all cylinders. There are a few spots where it's uneven, and there are some places where it could definitely be better. But I'd say overall the film is definitely worth seeing. The performances are competent. The story is definitely worth telling. And at the end, you get invested in these characters and you do care about them. I would definitely say that this film, in my scale, would deserve a 3.5. Have you seen Thank You for Your Service? What is your opinion? As always, definitely would love to know. You can leave your comments below if you would. And if you want to see more here at Something Spoiled, please click that subscribe button and you too can get spoiled. Thank you guys. We'll see you here in a few days with our review of Suburbicon as promised. Take care.